Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
Here comes Bill Guerin. He is the general manager and president of hockey operations for our Minnesota Wild. And before 3-2. And before we get into, some unbelievably pressing hockey-related, like this Patrick Laine thing that I just started reading about. I don't even know if it was a thing. Like, me, man, we're going to get right to the bottom of every single phone call that may never even have taken place. But before we get to pertinent stuff like that, which we won't get to anything Laine involved, how big is Thursday night for you? Honestly.
It's really big.
Yeah, why?
It's really big. This will be the second time that I've ever seen my favorite band.
So you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I heard Barrero this weekend, Sunday sermons, and he was out here, and he was talking about some people who are going to be joining him during the course of the week. He talked about Billy G, and I'm like, that's going to be cool. I'll listen for sure. You guys are fantastic on the radio together. But the main reason that you were here is not necessarily a radio show. It was to see Motley Crue playing at the grandstand. And I'm just wondering, after you see Motley Crue, do you then start Googling, where can I find Rat and Whitesnake and maybe Scorpions?
I was actually listening to Rat came up on my playlist on the way here.
It did?
Oh, yeah.
What came up?
What's this? Take the midnight subway train.
Oh, yeah.
You're in love?
Right. What's up, Alan? I can't name a Rat song or a Whitesnake song. I know Scorpions had a massive, not one-hit wonder, but
Scorpions are not a one-hit wonder.
I know. I understand that. They had a giant song. It's just not my musical genre. But with Motley Crue
is growing up in the 80s, Springsteen and Motley Crue. Motley Crue was they're my band. I love them.
Yeah. When's the last
I've
time you saw them?
I've seen the Dirt probably 15 to 20 times.
Okay. When's the last time? And the reason I asked...
2 years ago.
How were
US
they?
Bank Stadium.
Well, because Vince Neil's 63.
And that was the first time I ever saw him.
Nikki Sixx is 65.
Yeah.
So he should be Nikki 65. Tommy Lee's 61. Who's Samantha Maloney? Samantha Maloney's 48 years of age. I'm not exactly sure who she is, but I recognize those other names.
Well, Mick Mars is no longer with the band.
Oh. Was it controversial?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Holy cow. Did
there was
they
a bit of a falling out there. I think it was over some finances.
Did they buy out Mars and then have to sweat like finding a quality high-end bass player for 3 or 4 years?
Yeah. I don't. Well, Nikki Sixx is the bass player.
Yeah. Okay. You know what I meant.
I know what you meant, but I'm. You know what? We just got to get it right.
Think about the pep. Well, you got pep in your step all the time. Okay, you're fantastic, very good at what you do. HOF type career on the ice, but this time next year when those buyouts are done,
yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a thumb underneath an armpit, fluttering your fingers we got some money, we got some money. I mean, it's been an arduous time, I would imagine, running an organization, just waiting for this thing to fall off in July, right?
But I don't feel like we've been waiting for it.
Right.
Like that. We haven't operated like that.
Mm-hmm.
We never wanted to send that message to our team, to our fans, to anybody. We're not waiting this year. We're trying to win. We've got some salary cap obstacles, but I think we have performed well under the situation that we put ourselves in
by choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I'm looking forward to it, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh my God, we'll just wait till next. No.
Yeah.
We have this year.
It's not like a metaphorical prison cell where you're marking a day every single day until you get out.
No.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this year and trying to win this year.
I have access to Motley Crue's set list from their most recent show. Would you like me to? Well, by the way, I mean, old Well, I've seen this with my all-time favorite band, Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Oh, yeah.
Where, it used to be 20 songs, 4 encores, nice little Temptations cover or something like that.
Sure.
Then it went down to like 17. Now we're down to like maybe 12 songs and 2 encores if they felt you were engaged.
Right.
1 if they just want to get on the bus and go to the next stop. Your band in their last show played a grand total of 11 songs. So I don't know if that's normal. Do they usually play more songs than that?
I don't know.
That's just
that's good. Hey, whatever they want to do.
I have the set list. I mean, this is like coming into Colorado Avalanche Intel 2 days before a huge game, and the intel's provided.
But I don't want it.
Really? So you don't want to know where Primal Scream falls?
No. But I love that song.
What about Dogs of War?
No.
Kickstart My Heart? You love all those songs?
Yeah, I just don't want to know where they fall.
I understand.
I like the be in the moment.
Yeah, for all 11 songs it feels like the whole concert's going to take an hour 20. I mean, old people got to rest.
You know what?
Take it from me.
Hey, we saw Duran Duran. Was it last year?
Wow.
They were dynamite.
With Simon Le Bon and Andrew
John Taylor.
Oh, John Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Andrew originally. Oh, that was Wham with George Michael.
Right.
Yeah.
They were fantastic.
Well, we're close to the same age. I'm about 4 or 5 years older than you. I mean, do you remember when we were like in '84? What were you in?
I was 14,
middle school.
I was freshman in high school.
There you go. And I was graduating from high school.
Mm-hmm.
Hungry Like the Wolf on MTV.
It's incredible.
Are you kidding me with that?
Yeah.
Everybody either wanted to dye their hair blonde and like parted on the side like Simon Le Bon. He was just everything.
Everybody wanted a vest from Chess King with a bunch of zippers in it.
Yeah.
And fingerless gloves.
Right.
And I thought their video, The Reflex, that was the coolest one.
The Reflex. Yeah.
I thought that was the greatest.
Yeah, I mean, super poppy songs, but they're like songs that stick
MTV
because the videos.
Back when MTV was good.
Yeah, well, right. Remember my guys, Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Yeah.
Remember Family Man?
Yes.
The video?
They're unbelievable.
So, like, you might not be a big Daryl Hall and John Oates guy, or people might not, but, like, that video, Family Man or Man Eater, people are never going to forget that.
It's... They just don't do it like that anymore. It's too bad.
You want to say those were the good old days, but you don't want to be old guy, get off my lawn guy. I mean, let's face it.
But they were. I'm sorry. And you know what? I always told my kids, you have to listen to this music.
Right.
Because, you know what? Like, I would play Rush for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Rush is one of my favorite bands, too. And I would tell them, I'm like, listen, these are 3 guys. 3 guys making this music.
Right.
You know what? They're actually, you can hear the instruments.
Yeah.
And that's pretty amazing. And they're going to, that music will be around forever. Led Zeppelin will be around forever. Like, you have to listen to it. Even like just the 80s stuff and the 70s.
Yes.
And they listen to a lot of that still today. They get it.
My kids too.
Yeah. I honestly, if young parents out there, play classic rock for your kids.
Yes.
Do them a favor.
Or classic Motown, classic R&B. And you know why?
100%.
Because a lot of the music to which they're listening now they sample those songs from back then because that's how it was done right.
Because
you know what I mean?
It's play them the Stones, play them the Doors.
I mean, we can look at it as
Marvin Gaye, Chuck Berry,
100%.
The Commodores.
We can look at it like we are in the second half of life, which is factual. Yeah. We can look at it like we skew maybe to the older side as opposed to the younger side, the millennial side, or whatever. However, it was cool being part of a generation where all of a sudden you probably were 13, 12, or 11, make me about 18, 17, 16, when ESPN popped up, when SportsCenter.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It's all of a sudden this ballyhooed 2-week thing that, you didn't read on social media. There was a publication. Do you remember something called The National? It was a short-lived publication, but it was very, very good. And like all the newspapers would write about ESPN and what's coming up and stuff. And then all of a sudden, you see Chris Berman for the first time doing the back, calling players nicknames at MTV pops up. I mean, that was big back in the day.
Did you ever see the Ron Burgundy ESPN interview?
No.
When he was interviewing for a job there.
Well, that's terrific.
You got to check it out on YouTube. It's funny. He's just saying like sports all the time. Terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's never going to work.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's actually hysterical.
And the morphing of it throughout the years definitely has had to keep up with the Joneses because of digital, social media and everything, and that's cool.
And it's amazing it's in Bristol, Connecticut. There's not a lot going on in Bristol, but they have just this massive campus, and it's pretty impressive.
Billy, now September 10th and 11th, NHLPA Player Media Tour in Las Vegas. But what's that? It's like
they bring in some.
Sounds like a comp trip to Vegas just to shake hands.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the things that you see on TV, like the commercials and things like the, action shots. And they bring a lot of star players or up and coming guys in there, and they'll film a lot of that and get a lot of that.
I got it.
Out of the way. They do that. They do it in Europe as well.
Yeah. Well, this also can be done in Branson, Missouri, or Altoona, Iowa, or Anniston, Alabama, but we've chosen Las Vegas.
And you will get a lot of no's. You will get a lot of.
Is it in the Sphere? Because I have
no idea.
Well, that's where the draft was, right?
Yeah.
So we're back there. The Vikings are back there playing the Las Vegas Raiders late in the season, and I didn't get a chance to go to the Sphere.
You should go.
That's what I hear. There was like a U2 show there that was like supposedly unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I heard I'm not the biggest. I'm not a Grateful Dead guy, but I would have gone to that show. That was supposed to be incredible. I would have gone to that in a second. That building is. It's like nothing you've seen before. It's crazy. You,
Bill Guerin, General Manager, President of Hockey Operations for your Minnesota Wild, carried on KFAN here at the State Fair. You guys broke the bank for Brock Faber, and good on you, as some would say. He's special. I mean, he's just, even for casual hockey people like me who didn't play it, you can just tell he sticks out and he's different and only getting better, right?
Yeah, I think so. Not too many guys have a rookie season like that, and you know what? He became a very important part of the team right away. There's Brock's kind of got that it factor.
Yeah.
There's a confidence about him, but he's not a loudmouth. He's a very humble kid. He comes from a great family. But when he gets on the ice, he's a leader.
Yeah.
You can see it, and I really believe in Brock, and obviously I do. We signed him to a nice long contract, and I when you do things like that, you have to make sure that you're doing the right thing, you're doing it with the right people. And I'm very confident that we did it with the right person.
And you're undoubtedly confident with John Hines. That now he gets his he lives here now. Find a place, get your full off season, have a say in free agency, and this is just how the job is supposed to be done. And he obviously came in midstream last year, but now being with him and getting his thought process and breaking things down from last year, trying to make it better this year. What are you liking about Coach Hines with a full walk up to a season? Yeah, well, I think he was very comfortable with Pat Dwyer, with Jason King. We brought in Jack Capuano. Yeah. So I think John having his own coaching staff now that he's really comfortable with and excited about, being able to build on the relationships that he's created with our players, and then putting all their they've met multiple times this summer. We've got coaches meetings coming up next week as well, and then putting that all into action during training camp and having a full camp. John's a coach. He's a teacher as well. Mm-hmm. I think when he gets the guys for a couple hours a day and can really drive home the message and the systematic schemes and all that stuff and what's expected, that's going to be an added bonus for him. How often, if any, do you check in with players in the off season? Like, how often do you stay in touch? A little bit here and there, not too often. Yeah, I mean, I know what they're doing. We have, I'm in
contact with agents. We have, Matt Harder goes out and sees our strength and conditioning coach. He goes out and sees some of the guys. I touch base or bump into certain guys here and there. And, but I look, it's their time. I don't want to be overbearing on them either. And I trust the guys that they're going to come in good shape. And we haven't had any problems with that recently. So
So the day and age of, like an off season and somebody comes in and you're like, whoa, hey, what happened to you? And they got to kind of work themselves back to shape. Those are in the rearview mirror this day and age, right?
Pretty much.
I would imagine.
You get your outliers too,
right?
Yeah.
But
that you don't really see that all too often. To be honest with you.
Marc-Andre Fleury's season. I mean, it's you've been peppered a lot. He's immortality, he's HOF, the whole thing. You've been peppered a lot on that. I guess the only way I would frame it up is if you were to cast your gaze and anticipate the amount of games you would get from him, best case scenario, would that be 2/3 of the season, or is that too high?
That's probably high.
It's a little high.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
We have to see how he's always in great shape. We've got to see how he's performing. We've got to see what his energy levels are like, what his health is like, and we've got to, kind of go from there. But, I would say in and around what he did last year is probably feasible.
Yeah. So with Marc-Andre Fleury and Volstead and Gustafson.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's just take those three. And I think you're how many goalies will you have at camp? 5, something like that total. More than 3.
We'll have 6.
Yeah. Okay. 6. So is Bill Guerin, GM for the Minnesota Wild? For those of you who have stopped by recently, it's. It's like the Vikings cut today to 53. So I'm getting peppered with a lot of questions about, the do you keep a third quarterback? And then what does that cost on another spot of the roster? It's you got this up and coming offensive lineman or outside linebacker or whatever. Well, does that mean that player goes to the practice squad? Does that mean he gets plucked there and goes somewhere else? That's it's same fishbowl but different rock when it comes to under different rocks. When it comes to pondering potentially keeping 3 goalies, like on the active roster, but it's not a 0%er, right?
No.
Right.
No, not at all. And, when it comes to, you guys are, fans are looking for concrete answers, and sometimes we just can't give it.
Right.
Because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen in training camp or, is there an injury? Is there a trade? Is there this? Is there that? I don't know. But the possibility of carrying 3 goalies is there.
Right.
And you know what? We absolutely want to get Wally more action this year. And he's ready for more. How much more? I don't know yet. He's going to tell us. But, that's kind of the way we're looking at it.
With Liam Ogren, how close is he to helping the team? Not making the team, but helping the team.
I think he's really close.
In what ways?
Because I think he can play up and down the lineup. I think he's the type of kid that his game will not change whether he's playing on the first line or the fourth line and anywhere in between. I think he's going to be able to kill penalties. We saw last year he's got a bit of a scoring touch.
Yeah.
He can really shoot it. So, I don't want to put pressure on him or anything like that, but I think he can. I think he can be an impactful player for us this year.
So in having, I think it was 5 guys last year who scored at least 20 goals. Okay, I mean, that's if I bring that up, that's cool, but be cool to have X amount, 30, 35 plus, stuff like that. But it is when it comes to outside of, say, Kaprizov, maybe Hartman, Joel Eriksson Ek, and so on, is there more scoring, either points-wise, but specifically goals-wise, that you'll need from at least a couple of those who scored 20. We need to get up there 25, 26, 28. Is that imperative?
No, well, what we need is the guys that scored 10, but usually score 20.
There we go.
Get back to 20.
Right.
The year, I've mentioned, look at Johansson's got to have a better year. Goudreau's got to have a better year. Boldy has to have a better start. Kaprizov has to have a better start. Hartman can have a better year. Even though he scored 20, he's got to have a better year. Foligno, if he can stay healthy, we need him in the 15 to 20 goal range.
Yeah.
These are guys, if you've done it once, you can do it again.
Yeah.
And they're capable. I wouldn't ask that of them if they weren't capable.
Yeah.
And they really are. So I think that's, having Spurge back will be huge for us. Missing him all last year pretty much was that was a huge blow to our D-core and our offense.
Yeah.
He moves the puck. He plays on the power play. He scores more goals than you think.
Right.
I forget. He's 10 plus every year. And that's big on the back end. So we missed a lot of offense internally last year, and I'm looking for those guys to rebound and chip in more that way.
So he's off hip and back surgery, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's aggressive. Holy cow. I mean, I would imagine he's checking all the boxes as you negotiate up to training camp. I mean, does it have to be handled with kids' gloves, given the stage of his career?
No, by this time, or, in a couple weeks when we get going, he should be full blast.
Right. And Faber and Brodin, maybe the first pairing to start, or is it too early to say that?
You know what? It's a little early for it's a little early for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
understand.
We got to let the
training
coach,
camp
let
September
the coach make that decision.
September 19th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, that's right around the corner. Holy cow! With Z Boyum, how close is he to helping?
You know what? I think it's good that he's going back to school.
Right.
But I think after another year of college hockey, he could be an impactful player.
Yeah.
Not that he couldn't right now, but I just think that one extra year, like Faber did, it's good for them. You can take them out too early, but that extra year will never hurt them.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's far away, but I'm very glad that he decided to go back.
Lastly, it's like, what are your expectations for the team this year? It's say all the right guys stay healthy a majority of the time, and say two of the goalies work out almost exactly the way you want. If all of that Nirvana type stuff takes place, what are your expectations high end that this team can do?
My expectations are to get back into the playoffs and win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
Those are my expectations.
Right. Are those the expectations every year?
Yes.
Is it reasonable for all GMs to have that expectation every year?
No.
Right.
Because some teams are in just your rides here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Holy cow. I mean, what type of helicopters? Apaches? Those are impressive.
You know what? I don't, because I think there are some teams that are in, a rebuild or whatever, and I think, but we are not.
Right.
And, the one thing that really hurt us last year were injuries.
Yeah.
If we can stay healthy, we can get back to our 100+ point season and get back into the playoffs and improve on what we've done.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, it lacked stability last year. Is that fair to say? I mean, whether it's injuries, changes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know better than all of us, but again, a different sport, the NFL, same fishbowl, just under different rocks, is in that grind, they crave routine. And they crave stability. And it seems like the best, it may be mundane or, every single day is the same to some, but that is kind of a formula for winning for the best teams, right?
I would say so. And I would say that professional athletes are more comfortable in that setting.
Right.
And you know what? You get your marching orders for the day or for the trip or for the year. Mm-hmm. You know where you have to be. We're programmed, right?
Yeah.
And then when things don't go well, you know what? We get off to a bad start. Make a coaching change. There are injuries. It can really disrupt what's
continuity
going on. And yeah, you have to be able to. You know what? You have to be able to roll with the punches a little bit. We have to be able to, make changes on the fly. There's no excuse for anything, but it does disrupt. And, last year was and everybody look at players have bad years, coaches get fired, teams miss the playoffs. That happens. The big thing is that we bounce back. We get back to where we were before.
Right.
We get our swagger back. We regain our identity and play the way that we can. And it's going to be critical that we have a good training camp and we get off to a good start.
What kind of seats do you have tomorrow night or Thursday night?
I don't know.
You got to be in the pit.
I don't know. I honestly
sleeveless T-shirt.
I don't know. I will have my concert T-shirt on from 2 years ago. If
a Motley Crue shirt,
yes,
you got a game-worn Motley Crue. That's unbelievable.
It still fits.
Yeah, that's the case for all of us, right? Hey, thank you very much.
Great to see you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bill Guerin, ladies and gentlemen, General Manager, President of Hockey Ops for the Minnesota Wild. We'll be right back.
Fan. Come join us at the 2024 Minnesota State Fair live from Carousel Park, presented by Mesh Besher and Spence. We'll be broadcasting live through Labor Day, including today, like right now. PA's out there with the Wolves VOX Alan Horton. Tenna Fitzgerald will be out there. Dan Barrero will be out there. I'm out there at 6:30 as well. Come buy your favorite fan merch and learn about your shot to be the Mesh Besher and Spence Rube of the Day and win a prize pack. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Here's Alan Horton, the radio play-by-play voice for the Minnesota Timberwolves, as the cavalcade of guests continues. Welcome back to 9 to noon from the State Fair. Great Minnesota clump together in the shadow of the grandstand. We thank Bill Guerin for stopping by and joining us.
Fellow Massachusetts native right there, Bill Guerin.
I understand that.
Yep.
And you of course would know that, and a lot of minutia tied to his career being, the hockey guy that you've always been, right?
I grew up playing a little hockey. I grew up playing hockey until the size wasn't quite there for my age group.
Well, have you ever seen Jared Spurgeon?
Yeah, he's probably got a little more talent than I had. So you mix in the no talent with the small size and the small frame, and you don't last very long in the sport.
Right.
But growing up in Massachusetts, I was a big Bruins fan growing up, and so Bill was there for a couple of years.
Wow.
Had a really big 01-02 season with the Bees, but they unfortunately ran right into the Montreal Canadiens, which was always the arch rival.
And so the insiders and the natives call them the Bees. They're the Bees. Celtics are the C's, right?
Yeah.
It is. So you were there when they played at Madison Square Garden. Correct? Boston Garden. The old Boston Garden, right?
So we used to occasionally, I grew up like 3.5 hours away from Boston, so it was not close. But, in the summertime, we try to make one trip to Boston to go see a Red Sox game. In the winter, either a Celtics or a Bruins game. And then in high school, when I had some mobility and could go, drive to Boston, we'd buy not standing room only, obstructed view seats.
Wow.
Which literally meant that there was a pillar in your seat.
Jeez.
And you would dodge to the right and to the left to be able to see this Bruins or Celtics game. Another time for a Bruins game, there were so many decks hanging down that you were in the back of the lower deck. The upper deck would hang down. You could only see half the ice.
Yeah.
So you spent the entire day leaning down like this.
Just loving it.
Just to see in the play. But you got in for $5 or $10 or whatever the ticket price was. It was a great deal.
So how old are you?
I'm mid-50s.
Okay, so you were, I'm 58. So when I'm in Southern California, I moved from Washington, D.C. as a freshman in high school. And right when I get to the Los Angeles area, 79. It was Magic Johnson's rookie year.
Wow.
So we got him. You got, and with Magic, they win their very first game. Okay, so my first year, I go from D.C., where the Bullets had just played the Sonics back-to-back in the NBA Finals.
That's right.
And they won the first one, and they lost the second one. Then I moved to Southern California. Here comes Magic Johnson. They win their very first game, okay? And it was against the San Diego Clippers. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar hit free throw line 15 feet, about a 13 to 14-foot sky hook, middle of the paint, high slot, as they would call it in hockey, to win the game at the buzzer, he hit it over Sven Nader. Magic Johnson he hugged him, looked like he was getting emotional, like his chin was quivering, and I'll never forget it because I read it in the LA Times. After the game, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it just gently reminded Magic, we have 81 of these left. It was great. It's your first game, and we won, and it was emotional. But if you're going to be that emotional after every win and every loss, it might not be an elongated career for you, Irvin.
Yeah, pace yourself. A long 82-game season. And so while that was happening, I was on the East Coast, and I was just getting into the NBA because the Celtics were Larry Bird had just showed up, and all of a sudden you had 81 and 84 and 86. And you had that was a prime time to just be enveloped in the game, and it sucked me in because they were so good.
Me too.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, it's people have a tough time believing this when I say it, but it's true, is I enjoy the NBA league-wide every bit, if not more, than the NFL league-wide. Like, I'm definitely going to watch more games. Now, there are more games, but like Thursday Night Football, that's cool. Monday Night Football's really fallen off. Sunday Night Football's cool. But I'm not one to sit there and, like, if the Vikings aren't playing, watch football the entire day. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I've just always loved the NBA at a different level. And that's what happens when you're or we're close to the same age.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I'm playing basketball in D.C. as an 8th grader, moved to Los Angeles. Oh, and I'm a Celtics fan in Los Angeles, so I'm loving Larry Bird, Jerry Seestein, and Robert Parrish, and Cornbread Maxwell, and everything that goes into it in enemy territory while playing the game, and it was just so much fun. As the league really, it kind of redeveloped then, right? Because it fell off in the 70s. There were some drug problems. There were some game potential fixing, things like that.
Really bad image stuff.
And
80s then come along, it's Magic, it's Larry, and they've got that rivalry where they're meeting in the NBA Finals almost every year.
Right.
Just incredible.
And I know there are more teams now.
Yeah.
Chris Finch and I have talked about this more off the mic than on. But so there were fewer teams, but still, the layers just kept going for a decade and a half. So Magic and Bird, okay, now Isaiah and the Bad Boys.
Yep.
Now Peyton and Kemp.
Right.
Now Stockton and Malone.
Yep.
Ewing with the Knicks. Yep. Oh, what about these Hawks with Doc Rivers, one of the super tough-nosed point guards?
How about
Randy
Portland in there?
There you go.
With their,
and then Portland came next after that.
Right.
So it just, I'm not, get off my lawn guy with this because the world morphs. There are more teams, different agent situations, different the way they walk up to the game with, what are those leagues called for high schoolers, the high-end league, like Carl?
AAUs.
All that kind of stuff is markedly different.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoy it. But it was, there were games that were bloodbaths back then.
Yeah.
And
really
that's kind of like what you and I grew up on watching.
Yeah, and now the
Indiana Pacers, man, with the Davis guys.
Oh, absolutely.
And Rick Smits.
The NBA is now at a point, too, and they're looking towards expansion now that they've got this TV media deal done starting at the end of, one more year from now. But the talent in the league, to your point, you can tune in almost every night, and you may say, okay, a common fan will say, well, what do I want to talk about? Do I want to watch the Magic against the Pacers?
Yeah.
I can give you a couple storylines for every single team. Like, there's depth there. There's a reason to tune in. I want to find out what Paolo Banchero's doing there.
Right.
Maybe there's a couple of teams like Washington, the Wizards right now that aren't really marketable.
Yeah.
Detroit's been in a downswell.
Yeah.
But
so you're not going to go out of your way to watch Bilal Coulibaly?
Bilal Coulibaly. For the French national team, too. He's one of Rudy's guys. So Rudy thinks highly of him.
That French national team was that squad was scrappy.
It's a good team.
And when the Serbs with Jokic and the Bogdanovic who plays for Atlanta.
Yep.
They're up by 13 into that final quarter. I thought it was curtains for the USA. They blew by them like they were tied to a post.
They really flipped the switch. And but Serbia had only two, right? They had Jokic and Bogdanovic, basically.
Yeah.
And France, they had more firepower. And One guy who played really well was Gershon Yabusele, who's now signed. Played so well, he got himself a deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. So he's going to come off the bench there in Philly. But there are a ton of storylines going into the season. But before we get to NBA, I got something for you. Saturday afternoon.
Let's save it for around the corner so we don't have to have truncated
segments.
Stay on the clock.
Can we stay on the clock?
We're going to stay on the clock.
All
That's
right.
Alan Horton. He is the radio play-by-play voice for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we have much about which to chat over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, and we will do so next on KFAN.
Legendary comedian and actor Kevin Hart is set to return to Minnesota. See his hilarious Acting My Age tour when it comes to the Armory on Friday, February 21st, and Saturday, the 22nd. Tickets for both shows are on sale right now. Get the full details at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
What were you saying, Vox?
I was going to tell you on Saturday, I came in from doing some yard work, and I just turned on the old television, and there was a Vikings game popped on. And it was a comfortable Vikings lead. I think it was 23-3 at that point, fourth quarter maybe. And guess who you guys had on one-on-one? I thought this was so cool.
O'Connell?
Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Oh, my goodness. The insight, I mean, that was awesome. I mean, it was really cool to hear the thoughts of the head coach, Kevin O'Connell. And even something on an indescript play, like there was a punt, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, I know this is not exciting. I know the analytics say go for it, but here's what I'm looking for. And just to hear his insight while he's going through some of these plays.
It's elite.
It's elite stuff. And
See,
he's talking to you, and he's still got an eye on the back judge. He's like, that's a hold, right? Yeah, he's interrupting himself.
Right.
I mean, to pull that off is really awesome. So kudos to you and to Pete and to Ben, because Kevin O'Connell's not doing that if he doesn't trust you guys. Kudos to the Vikings PR for pulling that off. And for the Vikings Entertainment Network for organizing that, because that's not easy. That's not an easy trick to pull off.
That's really nice that you said that.
Really cool stuff.
Well, simply because there had to be a time. It's relationship based. You're so right. I mean, not just Kevin and I, but Jeff Anderson and his media relations staff, where just what I like is I just like when people think like this and work like this, because it's too much of a fat and happy generation with too many things where people get set and they're like, oh, this is cool. And I'm like, is it? But where does it go from there? Who knows? And what I'm saying is there had to be a time media relations and the Vikings Entertainment Network got together and said, hey, we like our preseason broadcasts. What can we do to make them better?
Right.
And they start brainstorming, and they know it's like we don't have to call Paul and tell him, because Paul's cool with it. Paul wants us to win, and Paul wants to have fun and enjoy the job. So, when there's not well, I mean, if we're going to have Kwesi in the second quarter and then Harry the Hitman in the third quarter, how's Paul going to, they know you don't have to, Paul wants to win, Paul wants what's best. So you start there, just with the enterprising thought of how to make something better. Yeah. And it shows the people who do it, yours truly and those who watch, somebody cares enough to think about something and ways to make it better, which is lacking in a lot of facets.
Because in this day and age, it's easy to say no to things.
Right.
People say no all the time. It's easier to
I understand that.
But like you do something like this, that brings you inside.
It's inspiring.
It's absolutely
inspiring when you're working with people like that. So therefore, they come up with the idea, and then we start going over it. Then it's you know this, man. There are just more conversations with the constituents than just like like with Jefferson. We didn't he did the first game, third quarter.
Well, that was cool when Kevin was joking with him too.
Unbelievable,
like standing there on the sidelines. Yeah. And I mean, that's just insight.
Justin's not going to sit down for 5 minutes and go over what we're going to talk about in the third quarter. O'Connell will. Harrison Smith kind of did.
Right.
So there's a by faith approach to it, but it's having like Jeff Anderson and his media relations group, Brian Harper and his Vikings Entertainment Network, think about it months in advance, implement it, execute it, and then see that the ratings are the highest in the history of Minnesota Vikings preseason football, TV-wise. So just to start somewhere with somebody caring enough about something to think about it and work on it, and then you win with it, that's fleeting. It's just so beautiful when it works like that, right?
It's great.
So I appreciate you saying that.
You bet, man, because it's awesome. And I love broadcasting, whether it's TV, whether it's radio.
So do I.
It's the medium. That's how we get the message out there. It's how you talk about. And Kevin O'Connell comes off just, completely awesome like he is. To hear his insights on something as small as a power run up the middle,
right?
Or like I said, that fourth down punt. So that was really cool,
right?
Really cool.
Well,
now I got to work on getting Chris Finch.
No, Finch, he's a cinch. He's cinchy. If you organize that for radio for the preseason, he's an absolute cinch. Because it's like, for this to happen, O'Connell had to be secure enough to let somebody else call the plays and run the offense and defense. He did that for multiple games. Yeah. And there's a security level that goes into it, which he has, and it empowers others, and subsequently others then perform better than they were performing. Yep. But Finch already has Micah Norrie. You know, who, Micah, you got this quarter, this half, or whomever. What's my man's name who coached the Summer League team?
Who had Summer League this year?
It was Chris.
Yeah, Hines.
Oh, Chris Hines.
Yeah, Hines, right. Yeah, so, and then Finch, it's like when O'Connell was like, all right, PA, we're going to run a screen to Dwayne McBride, and 57 is the key guy to block. And then you see the screen, and then you see 79 get the guy. He held him, but get the guy. And O'Connell talked through it. Yep. It's career highlight stuff for me of everything I've done because it's unique. Right. And Finch is a cinch in a preseason game. To do that with you, that'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. And it's not that far away. These preseason games tip off, I think, October 4th. We're in Palm Springs, California for a matchup against the Lakers.
Wow.
So it's not only opening the regular season against the Lakers, but we usually try to play the Lakers. We usually get out to L.A. Almost every year under Finch to tip off the preseason there, too.
We have plenty to talk about in our final segment with Alan Horton involving the 24-25 Timberwolves, but also some 23-24 and Anthony Edwards in his performance with the Olympic team. That's all around the corner from the State Fair on KFAN.